The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
We will continue in the analysis of Master D.K's instructions to the disciple C.D.P. found in DINA I. And today we will discuss the C.D.P's instruction for January 1938, found in DINA I, page 521, which Master D.K starts by telling her that during the past few months of 1937, she experienced in her life tension within her personality, resulting in illness. Now, primarily the planets involved which would be present there would be Mars, Saturn, Moon, and Chiron, with such a strong six-ray force conditioning her personality fields, it would be most probably as a primarily energy coming from the solar plexus, which is the reactive center of the personality. So we will look on June 8, 1937, because there was a solar eclipse, which you see on the screen, in 17 Gemini 37, semi-square the natal Neptune with its Sun-Moon midpoint. The natal Neptune carries the midpoint Sun-Moon, which reflects the Sun-Moon eclipse. Okay? And this indicates the torment within the personality, because Sun-Moon, from the perspective we are going to look at, concerning the tension in the personality and illness, Sun-Moon as non-sacred planets are conditioning the personality. Moon rules the dense physical body, and the Sun rules the personality as a whole. Now, as you see, the solar eclipse fell in the 12th house, considered as a sacred house, ruled by the sacred planet Neptune. 12th house, besides other things, deals with secluded places such as hospitals, weakness, and together with the 6th house polarity of health and purification, represent the polarity focus to healing and health. Now, hypothetically, the non-sacred planet Earth could rule the 6th house, which in this case is interestingly found in the 6th house as the polarity to the solar eclipse, and also to the progressed Sun in the 12th house. Okay? In Gemini. Now, the solar arc Neptune in the 12th house activates the progressing Moon through the 8th house. You see it there in the 8th house, the progressed Moon. Okay? And transiting Neptune is moving through the 4th house, near the IC there. Okay? Now, both these two houses, 4 and 8, are considered the houses of the personality. Now, the progressed Neptune is in exact sextile to the natal Cancer ascendant, ruled by the non-sacred planet Moon. And the first house, as a non-sacred house, is related to the condition of the personality and the physical body. And Neptune as a sacred planet is also the esoteric or soul ruler of the Cancer ascendant, and providing the opportunity to utilize the healing energy of the soul. Now, we have discussed the sacred and non-sacred houses ruled by the sacred and non-sacred planets in one of the previous webinars, and it is recommended to listen to the recording found on the Makara website. Okay? Now, the solar arc mass activates the Chiron-Neptune midpoint. I was looking for this midpoint because we're dealing here with weakness, health issues, okay? And here we have this combination Mars-Neptune-Chiron. Now, Mars and Neptune are transmitting the 6th ray, which is the dominating energy conditioning her personality and astral and physical bodies. And Chiron, as we know, is representing the wound and the healer. In this case, indicates the wound in the personality, which needs to be adjusted. Mars, as a non-sacred planet, is conditioning her astral body. Transiting Saturn, as a sacred planet, is moving through the 10th house and offers an opportunity to utilize the mental and soul energy from that high level of the 10th house being in Aries, which is conditioning the higher levels of the mental plane, okay? It activates, the transiting Saturn activates the natal Saturn ascendant trine and progressed Neptune with its Saturn and Neptune midpoint, emphasizing weakness and depression from its lower expression, but from its higher aspect, it indicates a spiritual opportunity to develop detachment and control over her 6th ray personality fields. You know, the Neptune, Saturn, Neptune combination with that midpoint, it's a very, very important energy what was happening in her personality and her illness, okay? The midpoint you need to find yourself because it's not present in the chart. It has to be calculated, okay? Between those two planets, and then interpreted together with the progressed Neptune, activating it, okay? Now, during the last 4 months of 1937, there was a strong presence of Saturn, Neptune, Chiron, Pluto activating primarily the natal and solar arc Mars, ruler of the 6th house of health, ruling Scorpio, ruling the 6th house. You see there on the cusp, okay? Transiting Neptune activates the natal and progressed Sun, indicating the fatigue, you know, weakness and lack of vitality. Transiting Uranus, which is going through the 11th house there in Taurus, having its exaltation in Scorpio, is in opposition the natal moon in Scorpio in the 5th house, reflecting the natal moon Uranus square. Okay? Now it is by transit, Uranus moon transit, reflecting the natal moon's Uranus square. This is the primary aspect of detachment and freedom, which need to be utilized. Okay? Now, these are some of the astrological energies mentioned here behind the following DK statement in the instruction, which you find on the page 521. When he says, but when inner causes have spent themselves in physical effects, there then follows a period of liberation. Now that is that Uranus energy, and of adjustment, and that is Chiron. And he says, my word for you is, therefore, let not the inattention resume its sway. Now you might at this point rightly ask, how shall I prevent these happenings? By remembering, my brother, that though the environing conditions may remain relatively the same, you yourself are not the same. You have arrived at the new measure of detached freedom. Now that is primarily Uranus-Saturn combination together with the Uranus-Moon contact, okay? And to this freedom, he says, you now must hold. Now the holding energy is primarily here Cancer, a Cancer ascendant, and also the point which we consider IC or 4th house, which is in Virgo, because Virgo also rules the environment and everyday life, which is reflecting also the 6th house, okay, which is a Virgo house. So in order to hold this required freedom, she has to utilize the esoteric or soul energies of Neptune as the esoteric ruler of the Cancer ascendant and the Virgo IC, okay, the foundation and stability indicating energy as an important point of holding, okay? Now we are told that freedom is a state of mind and not a condition of living. And it is good for all of us to remember this, okay? Now, we should come back to the natal chart for the time being. And through the year 1938, okay, the transiting Neptune in Virgo is moving through the Virgo 4th house. We're looking at the natal chart now, okay? But we will come shortly to some of the energies present during the year 1938, okay? Just to know that the transiting Neptune is moving through Virgo, okay? Through the 4th house. And it is activating the Sun in Aries, okay? In 21 degree there. And also progressed Sun, which we will see would be in Gemini, also at 21 degree, okay? So both of these suns, the transiting Neptune is activating during the year 1938. Now, we follow. It is good that you have the instruction from January 1938 in front of you to follow it closely as we are reading it as we go along, okay? So on the page 521, DK is saying, the dominant node which should rule your life during the next few months is to stand steadily in spiritual realization, and this will necessarily involve a close watchfulness over the personality. You will have to see that old thought forms of fear and of worry do not resume their ancient sway, and that old emotional reactions are not permitted to take form. Note how I have worded this injunction. These are words of Master D.K. to her, okay? Now, you know, spiritual realization, we could say that, you know, she has to stand in spiritual being or light of the soul, okay? The old thought forms of fear and worry, those who follow these webinars, we have dealt in details in the earlier webinars, you know, where DK is really bringing them up for discussion, okay? Now, the fear primarily is represented by her natal moon in Pisces decanate of Scorpio, placed in the fourth test of Scorpio, dealing with fear. And the old thought forms are represented primarily with the Saturn in Pisces in the 9th house, okay? And Mars, ruler of Scorpio and dispositor of that moon in Scorpio, is found in the 12th house of fear, okay? And the emotional reactions are represented by Mars ruling her solar plexus, okay? And astral body is the reactive center, solar plexus, of the personality, and it is, as you see in the natal chart, squaring that Saturn, okay? The process of realization, you see, when he's talking spiritual realization to stand, the process of realization is turning around the manifestation of form and phenomena. It's a long process, okay? Going from the lowest levels of realization to the highest, which a disciple must transmute into spiritual realization and to see the soul in all things. And this was primarily important for C.D.P., who could not see the soul, particularly in people she loved. She treated them as a personality, okay? No, so personality representing the form, okay? And as the personality is consciously developed, we pass on to a realization of the underlying qualities which the form is intended to reveal and to identify with the soul, which we recognize is our true self. Okay? Later we arrive at the realization of the purpose, you know, we could say our highest highest quality here, which is working out through the qualities expressing through the form. Okay? That, you know, we have here a deeper understanding now of what he is really mean when he says that she should stand in spiritual realization. Okay? Now we look at the chart for 6th January 1938. Okay? We see there transiting Saturn, it's at 29 Pisces through the 10th house, with transiting Pluto, 29 Cancer, activate the natal Mars in 29 Taurus, and solar arc Mars in 29 Cancer. So you see, we have a very powerful alignment on this day of these very strong planets which are bringing, you know, particularly the combination Saturn-Pluto, available first ray energy of will to be utilized in controlling of the reaction of the personality through the solar plexus, both ruled by the Mars, personality and solar plexus. Okay? Now, the progressed moon is found at 8 Aquarius 22 in exact trine the solar arc Mercury at 20 Gemini 22. We have on this day a powerful combination of energies in the exact aspects, and that's why I have selected this day to bring these energies into our attention, because they are important. What was actually happening at that time for this disciple. Okay? And all these 8 moon, solar Mercury, 8 Gemini, Aquarius energies activate the progressed Saturn in 8 Pisces in the 9th house. Okay? The progressed Saturn in the 9th house. There we are. So you see, we have Moon, Mercury, Saturn. Then we have progressed Moon and Saturn also in relationship, okay, through the 8th degree, with the solar arc Mercury, which activate also all these 8 degrees planets, the Moon Saturn midpoint, which falls in 8 degree Capricorn, okay, and this Moon, this Moon Saturn midpoint is carried by the natal Mercury in Aries, in 8 degree Aries there. So you see, the focal point here is becoming the mind through the Mercury, powerful involvement of Mercury, and first ray, which he needed to really utilize to work with these energies which were present through the whole year 1938. Okay. Now, it is evident here that she is going through crises, and crises are usually conditioned by Moon and Saturn. Okay, which is, you know, part of this combination of energies, contacts here with the Moon Saturn in her natal chart. and by progression, okay? And crisis is brought about by a certain habit of mind. A habit is the moon, okay? And mind is the Mercury, and also Saturn, okay? And it is, crisis is overcome over a time only by a certain habit and rhythm of the spiritual, of her spiritual nature, okay? The energy has to be shifted higher to deal with the lower energy level, okay? We are told that it is establishing of a certain objective rhythm which produces crisis, and it is the emergence of a particular subjective rhythm which enables us to overcome the crisis and to capitalize on the opportunity to do so, okay? There is also indication of a change wherever we find the moon involvement. It's a planet which changes things, okay? In the thought processes which would require a discipline and control of the old thought forms. A Saturn in Pisces in the 9th house, primarily. Through utilization of the higher mind, held steadily in the light upon the higher mental plane, indicated by the natal Mercury in Aries. Okay? Now, the natal Mercury, besides the square to the ascendant in Cancer, forms semi-square to Pluto, natal Pluto. We're dealing with the natal semi-square between Mercury and Pluto. Now, this is the only major aspect in her chart which the Mercury makes between planets, okay? And this semi-square operated through all her life, okay? So it's very important, and we will see it would come into focus as we are looking through the energies of that year. Now, Mercury and Saturn are the planets of discipleship and represents a very important test or tests for an accepted disciple. And C.D.P. in that life has transferred from the cella inner light into a stage of accepted discipleship. So she is a newly accepted disciple in that life, okay? So, and it is interesting that the Mercury-Saturn midpoint falling in 21° Virgo is activated during the 1938 by the transiting Neptune, which is moving through Virgo, okay? And by the progressed Sun moving through Gemini, transiting Neptune moving through Virgo, where Mercury is the exoteric ruler of Gemini and Virgo. The Sun is ruling the Leo 3rd house, which is a house of mental processes. And Neptune also rules Virgo esoterically. So you see, we have a lower and higher levels here of energies which need to be utilized. And always the higher energy has to shift the lower energies to the higher level. Okay? Now that Mercury-Pluto aspect, the semi-square, deals with the control of her speech, of thoughts, impulsiveness, impatience, irritation, mainly presented on a lower level through the Mercury in Aries natally. Okay? Which is in the 10th house, Mercury in Aries. And calls for the redirection of the mental energy by the right use of the will, represented by Pluto. That's why the importance of that Mercury-Pluto aspect, which was conditioning her through all her life. Okay? Now we will look on May 14, 1938, where there was a lunar eclipse which fell in 22 Scorpio, 53, in trine to the solar arc Pluto. You see that in the first house, 22 Cancer Pluto there, you see the solar eclipse activates that Pluto by solar arc progression. Okay. And it is also activating that Mercury-Pluto semi-square, obviously. Okay? Where the 22-degree Pluto is semi-square, and also the progressed Pluto is squaring that natal Mercury. So you see that eclipse is activating across the natal progress Pluto and obviously the natal and progress mass Pluto semi-square. Okay? When we look at the natal, progressed, and solar arc moons, they are all in 12 degrees. Solar arc, progressed, and natal moons are all in 12 degrees to each other. And the natal progress moon square activates the progressed Mercury in 27 Gemini found in the 12th house, right? And that reinforces the progressed moon square to natal Mercury, which we have seen on that 6th January day where so many things came together. This is just another confirmation of the same energy, okay? Now, this Moon-Mercury link activates the Kama Manas, or the desire mind, okay? The Moon emotional effect on the mind of Mercury, and brings a conflict between the mind and emotions. It is also very strong force ray combination because both planets, Moon and Mercury, are conditioned by the fourth ray, which brings into focus her natal Moon in Scorpio, which is another force ray combination because Moon is a force ray and Scorpio, there is a force ray transmission through Scorpio. So you see, automatically through that Moon Mercury to the natal Moon and the force ray energy, we are getting a very emotional involvement behind that fear or in that Moon in Scorpio. okay? And relation also to the Mercury-Pluto aspect back, with the Pluto as the ruler of Scorpio, and also of the Pisces decanate of the moon in Scorpio placement. So there is this another powerful relationship, okay? And we have seen that force ray involvement in the building of her garden, but here we see that force ray emerging from another level of energies, okay? So even, you know, she was not conditioned by a force ray on her 5 levels. It is found, you know, in other ways in the chart, and we need to find it, okay? Now, this makes for her very difficult to break away from the old thought forms. And she's continuously falling back on the old rhythm due to the involvement of the emotions and lack of will. And this is one of the reasons behind her lifelong struggle also of developing detachment. Her major quality, she was trying to develop all her life and failed to do so, okay? And is one of her keywords in her development formula, standing by the letter D, C.D.P. D, detachment. Actually, D.K. uses the keyword dispassion there, because of the involvement of the powerful emotions, okay? Now we look at the solar eclipse, which happened on 29 May of that year in 7 Gemini 31, activates the exact sextile between the solar arc and natal Mercury in 8 Gemini, okay? And thus further emphasizes the mental energy together with the progressed sun in 21 Gemini 05, reaching exact sextile to the sun in 21 Aries 05, okay? That is a powerful exact aspect happening on the same day of the eclipse, okay? Bringing another emphasis of the sun rulership of the Gemini house, which is ruled by Leo, with the mental processes, okay? And also the progressed sun is activating the Mercury-Saturn midpoint in 21 Virgo, which we have already mentioned before, okay? So you see how we need to find confirmation of these energies because you know, sometimes it's not enough to really bring the power of those energies, but we need to look for them and find them, okay? And particularly these Mercury-Saturn planets in any kind of aspect or combination are very important for this disciple because they represent for her very important test as an accepted disciple here, okay? And we are learning what kind of energies she needs to utilize in order to pass that test, because it's very important test for her to take prior to taking second initiation. Obviously not in that life, because she did not master these energies in order to do that, okay? So we know that also here the exact sextile it's happening on this day of the eclipse between the solar arc and natal Uranus in 15 Leo Libra energies, making that sextile between solar arc, Uranus and natal Uranus. And it's activated by the transiting Uranus at 15 Taurus. Okay? So you see we have again combination of energies on the same degree, and this is a combination which is providing, bringing into focus the quality of freedom which she needed to achieve. Freedom from the personality, okay, primarily. Then we continue with the instruction, seeing what Master D.K is bringing up on page 521, when he is telling her, stand as the soul and as a constant habit of life, develop the attitude of recognizing your own divinity in daily expression. Now, by this one sentence statement here, he is bringing basically a spiritual habit here. Stand as a soul upon the higher level of the abstract level, okay? Standing as a soul in a constant habit, it means spiritual habit here, okay, which brings the moon, okay, as a sole ruler of the Virgo energy, and the 6th house of everyday life. Because when he's saying recognize your divinity in day-to-day expression, in daily expression, and the habit of day-to-day life comes under the 6th house and Virgo energy primarily, okay? So he is pointing to certain energies which we have already seen being activated, like the moon and the Virgo and the 6th house, okay? She needs to develop constant spiritual habit in her everyday life by standing as the soul and recognizing her soul as a divine being in daily expression. Now that is a high order for all of us to achieve that, okay? She is basically going through crises produced by old established such objective rhythm, okay, which we have already sort of looked at, brought about by a particular habit of the concrete mind, okay? And she has to overcome this old habit of old thought forms conditioning her mind by substituting it with a new spiritual habit and subjective rhythm. And this will bring the crisis to the end, if that is achieved. Now, the words of D.K. now, in the instruction, when he says, a close watchfulness over the first feigned tendency to swing into the old rhythm will be necessary, coupled with a sane and immediate handling of old thought forms of weakness. Now, what energies he's confirming these energies, where he, you know, rhythm is the 7th ray, which is coming through Cancer, okay? in relation to Saturn in Pisces, having its detriment in Cancer, related to the Moon, Mercury and Neptune as rulers of Cancer, Virgo and Pisces energy. And when he's using the keyword sane coupled with a sane handling, he's talking of mental control, okay? And immediate handling, it's the Aries, okay, of those weaknesses, okay? Mercury in Aries forming relation with Saturn in Pisces, as we have seen, through Mercury having its fall in Pisces and Saturn having its fall in Aries. You see, we need to find all these kind of relationships for further confirmation of what we are discovering here. And Moon in the Pisces decade of Scorpio having relation with the Saturn in Pisces. You see, through the weakness of fear conditioned by the Pisces energies and the 12,000 Piscean house, which we have already discovered through a different kind of relationships. So, again, Mercury-Saturn relation brings into focus the Mercury-Saturn midpoint, okay? Which is coming back, you know, in confirmation through this relationship. That is the testing energy on the path of accepted discipleship for all of us. We need to look at these Mercury-Saturn planets in our own chart to develop, to discover, you know, what kind of test they represent for us, okay? But we need to be on the path of accepted discipleship, okay, in order to really understand and utilize these energies, okay? We note that Saturn in Pisces represents also the old rhythm with old thought forms of weakness, okay, which need to be dealt with, closed and finalized. And Mercury in Aries represents the initiating, the starting energy of a new rhythm, which standing in the light upon the highest level of the mental plane, which is ruled by Aries. I mean, the first abstract subplane from above, highest level of the mental plane, and utilize the will for the destruction of the old thought forms and make the new light available for creating new ideas, where Uranus would come into that, okay? Now, words of D.K. in the instruction follow. For you, the word substitution may prove of real help, enabling you to substitute afresh and vital, that's the Uranus, interest in the place of the old Moon-Saturn emerging ideas, and to substitute a definite physical plane activity, which is usually Moon and Mars, in the place of emotional crisis, particularly the Mars, ruling her astral body. Saturn in Pisces square natally, maybe if we put the natal chart there now for a clarity of this, what we're looking at the moment here, that you see that the Saturn in Pisces is making actually T square between the Mars-Venus conjunction in the 12th house and the Jupiter in the 6th house. Okay? This is a major T-square combination of energies, and these energies are involved through different levels as we're looking through this 1938 instruction. Okay? And further, what he says here, that to substitute a definite physical plane activity, that's the moon mass, and to discipline your lower life into ways of joy. Now, joy is ruled by Jupiter. And happy activity, okay? That's the Mars opposition Jupiter, okay? Joy, he says, would prove for you a major healing factor. We must remember that Jupiter is her second race soul ruler, a very important planet for her, okay? A joy, you see, is a healing quality of the soul. And when there is alignment, when we're talking alignment, soul, mind, brain alignment, the joy is becoming truly realized in the mind as the highest aspect of the personality. You see, joy is not achieved by discipline of the emotional nature, but it will demonstrate as a natural reaction of the soul as a reward of achieved soul control and the establishing of a direct line of contact between the soul and brain via the mind. And those of you who follow these webinars would remember that we discussed that she has to develop soul-brain alignment particularly, okay? And here we're having another indication of that this alignment has to be present there. Because without the involvement of the brain, nothing would happen on the outer level of manifestation of the inner energies. That's why the brain is always involved in all the initiations, okay, as a major testing point. A joy is untouched by circumstances or environment condition. And when we cultivate the joy, it would bring her, if she cultivated, it would bring her strength to stand in that spiritual being, because she would be in that healing quality of that joy energy in the soul, okay? Now, on page 522, this is what D.K. says now. He says, for years, my brother, I have referred frequently to your garden of beauty. First of all, I had to lead you to create it. Later, I taught you to perfect it, and then to use it. I taught you also how to dedicate it and to turn it into a shrine of consecration and connect it in your mind with a thought of service. That which is thus created and used exists. Today, I would like to tell you that on the inner planes, your garden is of service to my group of disciples and to others in larger numbers than you think. It is a place of gathering for many and a place of refuge for a few. Ponder on this and continue your task of beautifying it. Remember ever that those who seek its loveliness come not only for the garden, but also come in order to contact you who, upon the inner side, appears other that you fancy yourself to be in physical incarnation. Now again, we have been discussing her garden through all the webinars, as D.K. was adding further information and qualities to it in symbolic forms. Here he is more or less summarizing, okay, telling us why he asked to create, perfect, and use the garden on the subjective levels of the higher abstract subplanes of the mental planes where she created it as a shrine and as being of service to many. Okay? And some of them came to see her for her inner beauty, selflessness, loving, giving nature. Okay? Which she never really believed she's like that when D.K. was trying to tell her that through her life. Okay, we are learning she doesn't really know herself, basically. That's why, you know, he used that word, fancy yourself. That's how she fancied. She was not really like that what she thought she was, okay? And she didn't believe him, you know, how highly developed she was on the inner planes, okay? How, you know, often he told her how strong, beautiful and loving soul she was on the inner planes, okay? So, in continuing with the instruction, now, he says, now there remains for you to make for others a garden of your life upon the physical plane. Much you have learned during the past years. And though old rhythms and thought habits often draw you back outside your garden of peace, you find your way there again with greater speed. You do not wander quite so often into the mazes of worry and into the foggy lowlands of glamour. Now, we see here that after creating a garden on the inner levels, now she is asked to create a garden of her life for others on the outer level, on the physical plane, okay? And for this, she needs to utilize the energy of manifestation, third and seventh rays primarily, which condition the physical plane, to bring this garden into manifestation upon the physical plane. Now, even though, again, she is not conditioned by third and seventh rays on her 5 rays levels, but she has a powerful energy in the chart. Cancer ascendant transmit third and seventh rays, and her Aries sun sign transmits 7th ray. So, you know, that is a powerful energy available to her, you know, for this creation upon the physical plane. And there are 2 planets which can supply both of these rays, and that is Saturn and Uranus. And physical plane is primarily conditioned by Mars, Moon, And also we can include Saturn also there, okay? Now, Mars, as a ruler of Aries sun sign, is found in square to Saturn, as we see in the natal chart. And Moon, ruler of her Cancer ascendant, is square Uranus. So we see a relationship between these energies present in her chart, okay? In that, I don't want to go into greater details of that, what he was saying there, but more or less we see he's repeating the energies of the worry, of the astral plane, of like folk, you know, glamour, which we have already seen in other forms being, you know, pointed out through the process as we go through this astrology and what he is actually saying. Following the instruction, and this is what he says: see to it that during the next 9 months you preserve an attitude of spiritual indifference or of divine carelessness and emotional detachment. Upon these 3 words, particularly the first 2, I would beg you earnestly to ponder. Stand in your garden, but when there comes the urge to venture forth upon an errand of concern, of anxiety, or to satisfy suspicion, treat it with indifference, and care not what may eventuate. Naught can occur that can really shatter your achieved balance. Know this. Now, you see, again, he is bringing out certain keywords here, like, you know, anxiety and suspicion, her major problem of glamour, a creation of glamour. She was very suspicious. She did not trust easily. And so when she felt these energies, she wanted to find out for herself what is going on. So that's what he's actually saying, you know, that stand in your garden. Don't go from there, from the lovely energies you are standing up there, down to investigate, okay? Because that's why she needs to develop that detachment and indifference and carelessness. Don't care what is happening down there, okay? Now, he's bringing a new word here, sort of the key word divine, you know, divine carelessness, okay? Now, the significance of the word divine is related primarily for her to the will, okay? Because in order to become detached, indifferent, careless, she needs to activate that will, okay? She has to stand. You see, in this case, to activate that will, she needs to stand at the summit of the tower she has created in her garden. Because this summit is reaching the highest abstract level of the mental plane, which is ruled by Saturn, a powerful transmitter of the dynamic quality of the first ray. And she needs to activate and use this power, okay? Now here we go with the instruction again, page 522. D.K. continues with this, telling her, stand as a center of strength to all you meet, and cast not my suggestion aside because your personality rejects the possibility of achievement. Upon the inner planes you have achieved. Upon the outer plane today, see that that achievement is also demonstrated. From the place where in your physical plane life is lived, let there go forth that which can heal and bless. Nothing can stop this blessing. It speeds forth upon the wings of detachment. And from a heart that has no care for itself. It goes upon its mission because you have learned to trust the souls of those with whom your lot is cast. Now, if we look at some of these key statements here, what he's telling her, to stand as a center of strength, that is the summit of the tower. He is strengthening her will here by this statement, okay? And when he says, you know, here it's another indication that, you know, to his suggestion, what he is telling her, don't put it aside because your personality doesn't believe what I am saying, that you can achieve, and you don't believe that you can achieve. You see, this is another confirmation that she didn't believe him what he was saying to her, how highly developed she was on the inner planes. And astrologically, we see, you know, the inferiority complex by the Sun conjunct Chiron in her natal heart, a natal chart in Aries there. She was continuously underestimating herself, you know, and her possibility of achievement, okay? When he is talking about, when he says, you know, heal, it's a Chiron. That's a Chiron energy on a higher level. And bless, it's a Neptune. And we have a Neptune-Chiron conjunction there, okay, in her chart. Then nothing can stop this blessing, okay? And when he says it speeds forth, that's Aries. Upon the wings of detachment, which planet has a wings? Mercury. Mercury in Aries, in the 10th house, semi-square that Pluto, esoteric ruler of the 10th house of Pisces, okay? And that Pluto is in Capricorn decade of Taurus. Aries, where Mercury is placed, rules the highest level of that abstract mental subplane, where we find that summit of that tower with the will, okay? And Mercury is one of the planets, by the way, ruling abstract mind, okay? And when he says, you know, that from a heart that has no care for itself, because she was very selfless. She was very selfless, and these selfless energies are represented by Jupiter, her soul ruler, in aspect to the Neptune. okay? The blessing energy, you know. Neptune is the esoteric ruler of the Cancer ascendant, another soul, powerful soul energy. So the Jupiter and Neptune contact, you know, is the powerful soul contact. It's going actually even higher to the Buddhic plane with that energy, okay? And when he says, upon its mission, a mission is Sagittarius and 9th house, which brings Jupiter, placed in Sagittarius, as a ruler of the Aquarian 9th house from the esoteric level. Okay? Here is the mission to the higher levels. Okay? So some of these energies we can find astrologically behind the words of D.K. here, okay? By telling her to stand at the center of strength, which reflects her standing in the summit, okay, of her tower, strengthening her will. She was under the glamour of inferiority as the personality, as we see the astrological energies with the Chiron sun there, and could not accept her inner achievement, but as a soul, you know, she was strong, loving, selfless. Neptune, Chiron, okay, Jupiter, all these energies. So D.K. is strengthening her courage also here, and confidence, okay, to manifest and express that which is on the inner planes. But you see what kind of courage he's talking about. He's talking about the courage of the soul. The letter C in her development formula, C.D.P, C, was her primary qualities here to develop. Okay, it is the courage of the soul, and in this courage she has to steadily hold, okay, of the sure knowledge of the soul, no doubting. Confidence is a key word of Jupiter. Okay, so during the whole year 1938, transiting in solar arc Jupiter was moving through Aquarius, where Jupiter is the esoteric ruler, and it is her secondary soul planet. And this is the power which indicates the courage of the soul. Okay. What actually D.K. is indicating here is the capacity and the qualities she possessed and had to use as the building stones in creating her garden on the physical plane, where she must, as a soul, radiate the healing and blessing to others. Okay? Now we come to the final sort of words, more or less, of D.K. on page 523, where he is concluding the instruction for the January 1938, okay, which was for the whole year, by the way, not only for January, as we see, when he says, I will give you the following 8 sentences as seed thoughts for your meditation, and would ask you to ponder them with care during the next 8 months. So he's giving her meditation for the next 8 months, which would be from after January cover the period from February to September 1938. Okay? Because in January, you see, if we look, you know, when he was starting to tell her about all the energies of the year, when she received the instruction, the transiting Saturn through the 10th house entered Aries. Okay? And Aries always initiate a new cycle. Okay? And both Saturn and Aries rule, again, the summit of the tower. And this transit is happening through the 10th house, the highest, you know, we're talking the highest house in the chart. And linking energetically with the natal Mercury in Aries in the 10th house. You see, because, you know, both of these energies rule that summit. The first abstract subplane of the mental plane. Now, we're going to look at the first month of that meditation, which was February. And when he says, and would you believe it, using the tower in her seat thoughts here, upon my tower I stand, and none can reach me here. Thus to the work which comes my way, I dedicate myself. So you see, he is clearly now stating where she has to stand upon the summit of the tower. Okay? Where nothing of the personality nature can reach her there. Now the symbol of the summit of the tower is also represented by the midheaven, right? As the highest point in the chart, which esoterically is ruled by Pluto. It's a Pisces energy. We're coming back to that Pluto, okay? Now, progressed Pluto in that month of February is in semi-square the natal Mercury in strong esoteric placement in Aries, okay, emphasized by other things. And both Mercury and Aries adding to that summit as a rulership. Pluto is adding its power with the first ray energy of the will, okay? And the transiting Saturn in Aries formed aspect to the progressed Uranus, exactly actually on 5th of February. Saturn and Uranus, together with Mercury, are the ruling planets of the abstract mind, which is found on this highest abstract subplane. Okay? Now there are 4 planets transiting basically through this time of February there. I think, you know, we don't see them now because they are transiting, all are moving in different speeds, but they are going through the 9th house of the abstract mind, you know, and they are the Sun, Venus, Mercury, Jupiter, moving through Aquarius, which rules the 9th house, where Jupiter is the esoteric ruler. Okay? And they are forming opposition to the progressed Uranus primarily in the 3rd house of the mind, of the lower mind, ruler of Aquarius in the 3rd house of mental processes. So this is a very important energies being present for her to utilize in that February month with the seed salt in meditation. And the transiting Sun and Jupiter are the rulers of the meditative axis of the 3-9 houses, Leo, Aquarius, okay? And these are the energies present here which starting the meditation, because 3-9 polarity are meditation areas as we build the Antakarana, okay? And that is another important, a point, present here, that these houses are also emphasized. And Mercury rules meditation also, okay? And the Antakarana itself. So, we come to the next month, which is March. Where the seed salt, you see it there on top, present, where D.K. is telling her, to meditate upon. Only my soul can reach the point of strength whereon I stand. And to my soul, that way is always open. To the task my soul assigns, I dedicate myself. Now you see, this is a fascinating statement here, at least for myself. When I was pondering on the first sentence here, when he says, only my soul can reach the point of strength whereon I stand. And to my soul, that way is always open. This is what she needs to develop. You see, it's not already present. She needs to build this. She has to build a bridge for Antakarana from the soul to the abstract mind. Okay? Upon the highest mental subplane, where the summit of the tower, representing the point of strength, is found, so the soul can always reach her there. She has to build this bridge. Okay? This is the purpose behind this March seed salts here. Okay? Because there, she would learn what is the soul purpose for her assigned there by the soul to fulfill. Okay? Now, if we look at some of the astrology present here, there is transiting Mercury Saturn through the 10th house, conjunct in Aries. You see the powerful presence of Aries energy in this month of March, when she was, given these seed salts. They activate the natal Mercury in Aries in the 10th house and the progressed Saturn in the 9th house. These energies are basically repeating themselves, emphasizing the highest abstract levels. Actually she built the garden through the 3 abstract levels, but the summit was at the top. Okay? Transiting Saturn in Aries is in aspect to the progressed Saturn in the 9th house. Okay? And in aspect to natal and solar arc Pluto, esoteric ruler of the 10th house, providing the first ray. transiting Jupiter, representing her soul, is moving through the ninth house too, in Aquarius. Actually, it entered now the ninth house, and through Aquarius, where is a powerful soul rulership there with that Jupiter in that ninth house. Okay, so she has available very powerful soul energies here to actually utilize these energies, you know, to build this link from the soul to the abstract mind. Okay? The third month, April, we have following seed thoughts from DK. From the high point, I often come down and walk the ways of life and beauty with my brothers. To the task of helping them, I dedicate myself. Again, at this point, I would just make one comment that I have arrived at my own understanding of these seed thoughts, and I recommend to each of you to do the same. Because what is important is that what you arrive at what understanding is important, not what somebody else is telling you. Okay? So here we have a transiting Saturn reach the conjunction to the Mercury in Aries, natal Mercury, okay, bringing together the two rulers of the you know, of those higher mental levels of the abstract levels of the mental plane. Okay, and first ray emphasis is here. Aries transmits first ray, and Saturn bringing first ray. Okay, both are rulers of abstract mind. Transiting Saturn is semi-square the progressed Pluto, esoteric ruler of the MC. You see, these energies are emphasized. So I just keep repeating some of them continuously, okay? And MC is the sun, right, of the tower. Again, Mercury, Pluto semi-square is emphasized. Now, when we are thinking of the highest point, and in the seed thought, she's asked to come down from that highest point. So what is the opposition to the MC? It's the IC, isn't it? She has to come down, and that is a Virgo. It's a serving energy, okay? Energy of service, basically. And that is the point of the descent. Okay, she has to now descend to the fourth house, which is generically a Cancer house. Okay, and Virgo and Cancer represent the service of humanity, which includes her brothers. Okay. Now, the MC, Pisces energy, indicates the qualities, for example, such as compassion, love, detachment with the Pluto ruling there, the will, which she experiences in the tower when she's standing there. These are the qualities. She's actually utilizing those qualities when she's there and experiencing them. And so these qualities she needs to retain and bring them down and express them in service below, represented by that Virgo symbolically. Okay? and be strengthened by them as she descends down. Okay? And the transiting Neptune through that fourth house is the esoteric ruler of the Cancer and Virgo, right? Being also a special ruler of Pisces and moving through Virgo. So it's anchoring her spiritual foundation of service here, and externalization of her inner self as she is on those higher levels with all those qualities. And Cancer and Virgo combination, as we know, brings into expression also very strong nurturing and healing power of love. So, we come to the fourth house, which is May. And the seed thought in these 4 months, as you see there, DK is giving her the radiance of love I seek to shower on all I meet, and to this life of radiant love I dedicate myself. You see, there is a repetition of the word dedicate, which is very, very 6th ray, a sort of keyword here. Now, the personality or lesser light of the 6th ray, her powerful 6th ray, is shutting out the full radiance of her 2nd ray soul and hiding the radiance of love, which must be released. Now, my own understanding of this keyword he uses here, shower. Shower is water, right? And water is emotion. For me, solar plexus is astral plane, a very 6th ray. So she has to lift the energy from the solar plexus to the heart. These 2 rays are emphasized here, 2nd and 6th ray. Okay? Transiting Jupiter, soul ruler and ruler of the heart center, entered Pisces. You see it there in the 9th house. And on the 25th May, in exact aspect to the natal and solar arc Jupiter. Okay? So it's powerful soul and heart and love energy combination. All the Jupiter on all levels are involved in relationship. So the radiant or magnetic light is the quality of the heart center. And she needs to radiate the love. She is on the inner planes in her outer life. Okay? Now radiation comes usually under rulership of Uranus. Okay? And on 29 May, on the day of the solar eclipse, which we have looked at, there is exact sextile between solar arc and natal Uranus in 15 Leo Libra, activated by the transiting Uranus. You remember we looked at this combination. And it is present, it is present in here in May meditative process. Okay? And the eclipse is powerful strengthening factor here. Okay? So we come to the 5th month, which is June, with the seed thoughts of D.K. saying, with carelessness divine, I face my daily life, knowing that all is well. To the aid of those I serve, the masters of the way, I dedicate myself. Now, as we read earlier in the instruction, she was told during the next 9 months to preserve an attitude of spiritual indifference or of divine carelessness. Okay? And he was emphasizing how that she should really deeply ponder on this. And here he's brought that keyword actually, carelessness divine, into her meditation. Okay? To deeply ponder them, he said at that time in the instruction, in her garden, resisting the urge to go out and investigate. When, you know, to quote him, when he said, care not what may eventuate to satisfy her suspicion. Okay? Here he is using a different sentence for that, but saying more or less the same, you know. I face my daily life, it's a Virgo, everyday life, 6th house and Virgo energy, that he's telling her again, know that all is well. That he wants her to know it and believe it, okay? But he's adding something new here that you know, to aid the masters, okay? Serve the masters, okay? Which is the hierarchy, basically. And the ashrams. So, in this 5th month, he has also given her seed sword with basically a similar keywords, where the abstract mind has to be utilized. Saturn and Uranus, the planets of detachment, an abstract mind, are transiting respectively through Aries, Taurus, and activate the natal progressed and solar arc Uranus, ruler of the Aquarian 9th house. Okay? The masters and the ashrams are conditioned by the energies of the MC-IC axis. The IC of 4th house are the ashrams primarily. The mid-heaven is the hierarchy, the highest point of the chart. Okay? And our true home, the 4th house, are the ashrams. Okay? Now the progressed moon, the esoteric ruler of Virgo, 4th house, veiling Neptune and transiting Pluto, esoteric ruler of Pisces, the mid-heaven, activate this ICMC Virgo Pisces. And when we look at the progressed MC, IC axis, they are found in Virgo Pisces decanate of Virgo Scorpio, indicating the service to the masters. Okay? Transiting Jupiter in Pisces through 9th house activates the natal and solar arc Neptune, you know, and they are the rulers of Virgo Pisces, Jupiter, Neptune. Okay? The daily everyday life comes under rulership of Virgo from the lower or personality expression of that energy. Okay? And if we want to interpret that on that basis, a Virgo ruling the fourth house, for her, it represents her continuous service to all her family, her home environment, in day-to-day life. She has no real profession or vocation. Her whole life was dedicated to her family, okay, to whom she was attending and loving, particularly her children, okay. So that is the lower expression of that fourth house with the Virgo, okay. Her profession was a mother. Cancer decade of Pisces on the mid-heaven, representing the fourth house, you know, through that Virgo service and moon rulership of Cancer decade and Cancer ascendant on the lower interpretation of that energy. Okay. Now we come to the 6 months July. July with the seed thought, which D.K. says, with true divine indifference, I shoulder every load that comes my way, for naught can touch my soul. To manifest this confidence, I dedicate myself. Now you see, the confidence, it's an effect of that developed divine indifference. Okay, there is a relation there. We see here transiting Pluto activates the natal and solar arc mass, and on 24th of July, we are in the month of July, the progressed Pluto now has reached exact square to that Mercury. Because we don't have that how would I say, a day of 24th of July, we are having here 15 July. But if we should go to which we are not necessary, you can do it yourself. When you arrive at 24 July, the progressed Pluto has reached exact square to that natal Mercury. And we shall last it until sometimes to the 1939. We will look at it when we arrive at the instruction for the 1939 year, okay? And this semi-square mass Mercury, as I said already, was activated through all her life until her death in 1940. So we are not far coming to the final instructions, okay? Pluto, you know, is a destructive will, destruction of devitalizing thought forms and emotions through the right use of the will, gives us strength to stand with detachment and the light of her soul, okay? You see, he is bringing that divine indifference, which he mentioned earlier in the instruction, okay? Basically, to be indifferent to whatever is happening on the personality level here, okay? And detachment process. And that will bring that confidence, which is the Jupiter, the soul. Confidence comes from the soul, okay? The spiritual level we're talking about. of confidence, not a personality necessarily. Transiting Jupiter activates the natal and solar arc Jupiter and ruler of her as a ruler of her soul. Generate that confidence and joy. Okay? It appears that the Mercury-Saturn midpoint is closely related to that Mercury-Pluto semi-square through these very testing times of crisis in her life, okay? Together with Uranus, which indicates, you know, together a burning ground through which she needs to pass prior to taking the second initiation. That is another look, another perspective looking at these energies here. Why they are so powerfully emphasized through the whole year. Okay. Now coming to the 7 months, it's August. And the key seed thoughts given is, those who are given to me to love upon the ways of life, I love and serve. I gaze upon them free from fear. To strengthen them within their souls, I dedicate myself. Now, this is for me a marvelous season for this disciple. Because what he is actually asking her to arrive at here is her all life love for her children, for her and those close in her family she really loved. Okay? Because she was all life, you know, serving them, loving them. But she feared for them so much, the moon in a 5th house natally, in the point of the test of fear. And here she needs to meditate, you know, to detach, you know, herself from she treated them always as a personality, but she needs to strengthen them within their souls and seeing them as souls. Okay? So I see here indication, you know, her love for her children and the fear for them. And this, how he formulated these seed thoughts, you know, we would arrive at this more at this understanding of this seed thought if we actually followed the instruction from the very beginning in 1931. Okay, then you know this seed thought would become more clear for us to understand. That Jupiter presence, you know, is such a powerful energy, you know, to help her, to aid her in this. You know, it's, you know, we keep repeating it, I am keep repeating it, you know, that is moving through the 9th house, Aquarius. Soul rulership of that energy, Jupiter Aquarius. And she is making a square to the natal Mars in the 12th house of fear. As we have already, you know, looked at that 12th house Mars. And Mars is the dispositor of the natal moon in Scorpio, right? In the 5th house of children, representing that fear. Solar arc Uranus, esoteric ruler of the Libra 5th house, reached exact semi-square to natal Jupiter. This is the most beneficial combination of energies we can have. Uranus-Jupiter. It's a success combination. It is there available for her to utilize it. And transiting Mars is square the progressed Jupiter in the 5th house at 24 degrees. Okay? And you know, it emphasized the Jupiter-Mars natal opposition. Okay? Now, the retrograde motion of the transiting Jupiter through the 9th house and the progressed retrograde Jupiter in the 5th is shifting the energy on the subjective levels of expression, okay? Towards the abstract levels, where she built her garden and the tower. And the Jupiter activation of the progressed Mercury and Venus there, bringing confidence and love, aiding her to becoming the tower of strength to those she loves. You see? Seeing them as souls and strengthening them as souls, which would benefit to her and to them. Now we're coming to the final months of the meditation, the 8th month, September. And the key word there for the meditation is, upon my tower, in the high place of vision, now I stand, and from that point I live and love and work. To this high destiny I dedicate myself. Wow! Now he's introducing, you know, new energy, destiny, a vision, high destiny. Okay, where the 3 qualities at that high destiny relation is the life, love, work, and service of service. The 3 keywords. Okay. And what do we see? Can we attempt to see this? Now, astrologically, the transiting Jupiter square the progressed Jupiter. We have the energy of love, wisdom, which is the love aspect there from the 3 keywords. Okay. Of that high destiny. And it's the ruler also of Pisces and Sagittarius 6th house of service, down upon the physical, in her physical garden actually. Okay. The esoteric rulership of Aquarius of that Jupiter indicate a world service. And the highest aspect of destiny is related to the monadic level, where Jupiter rules Virgo as monadically. It's the monadic ruler. We are going to the spirit level here. Or life. That is the life aspect. So you see, even astrologically, we can find the energies present which bring these 3 aspects of this destiny, and the high place of vision upon the tower, the summit of the tower. Okay? Available. With a vision we can come to the ajna, but I would not go into that because, you know, we are coming to the close and it's quite a long presentation here. The transiting Pluto trine NATO Jupiter, Pluto-Jupiter combination from the lowest to the highest interpretation is another powerful positive combination of energies of success, of achievement, accomplishment. And they are the rulers of the Pisces MC, which represents the summit of the tower, okay? The place of the high vision. Transiting Saturn in Aries through the 10th house is in opposition to the solar arc Uranus and sextile progress Moon in Aquarius. And Moon in Aquarius is in a strong monadic placement, indicating the service aspect of that high destiny. Okay? So you see, we are actually finding the monadic rulership here, which she was not utilizing in her life, but through meditation, he is making this available for her to become aware of this highest energy presentation here. Basically from the lowest personality level through the soul to the monad. So the strong focus on service through all this, basically through all this instruction for 1939, 38, and the meditation keywords here, seed salt. DK is trying to bring the usefulness and the purpose of service in her life, which was mainly lacking, real, and to find more true dedication to service in her life. Okay? Lifting herself through this meditation from the personality, not only towards the soul, but towards the spirit. Okay? As the source of the monad, as a source of destiny, which the radiant light of love will enable her to arrive at. That's why he asked her, you see, to build this garden and the tower. And then asked her to build the garden on the physical plane. To utilize all those energies on the highest levels, to utilize them in practice and in service upon the physical plane. And the final closing words of DK make the importance of this service very clear when he says, if you can grasp the reality of service and the usefulness of the service that you can render, you will have made much progress when next I instruct you. And that is the close of today's presentation. And in the next webinar, we will look at the instruction for 1939. Thank you.
Thank you, Elena. Such great and very deep thoughts that you gave us today. So thank you very much.
Thank you for for that compliment. As I said, you know, maybe when you look at the seed thoughts, you would interpret them completely, you know, differently. That's why I said, you know, it's not the way I see it, I share, okay? and everybody else, you know, they are seeds of. We need to meditate on them in order, you know, to really get the behind the keywords.
Well, that's
but,
right.
You know,
Yeah. I've read many of the meditations that he's given to the various different disciples, but I never, until you presented in this way, would have thought to take the meditation month by month by month and look at it in relation to the astrological chart. That just brings it to a completely different level than any of the things I've looked at before in this regard. So it's opening it up for me and for the other people listening to your webinars, you know, in a whole new light. So thank you so much for sharing that.
Well, this, you know, that's why I like to inspire people to, I am trying to bring something different, you know, which they would not maybe find just everywhere, and look at things, you know, from different angles, and you know, how we can learn. You know, I have learned preparing this, because this was my first experience of doing it also, you see. But to truly understand these keywords, as I said, one would need to really know the disciple from the very beginnings through the webinars, you know, where we dealt in details many of these keywords which he's using, you know, and it's amazing that he used the symbol of the tower, you know, here, to point out the highest level, where she, you know, has to living those energies. She had to leave them now, you know. And so anyway, you know, I am, how would I say, I hope people find it as an inspiration and would utilize it in some way in their own life. Like you said yourself, you know, now we can look, including myself, that it just occurred to me to use this approach when I first read it. It didn't come. It didn't come. You know, in this, when I started to prepare this, I didn't realize I can use it months by months. And it just hit me. It suddenly hit me, you know, and there you are, you know. It's an inspiration for me also, you know. So how we proceed now, BL?
Well, I'm going to stop recording right now so we can talk a little bit, okay?